The annual State of the Nation address holds profound importance for every nation. Yet, this occasion carried an extraordinary weight for the Philippines. This heightened significance is rooted in the anticipation surrounding the newly elected President Bongbong Marcos, who has boldly promised a raft of changes since assuming office. He credits himself with instigating much of this transformation, a claim that is up for scrutiny. However, to truly dissect this message and its potential implications for the Philippine economy, one must first grasp a fundamental detail: the nature and importance of the State of the Nation address. SONA is a constitutional obligation and a yearly tradition in the Philippines. It is a time when the President of the Philippines reports on the status of the country, unveils the government's agenda for the upcoming year, and may also propose to Congress certain legislative measures. As such, it's a major event, drawing attention from across the nation and around the world. President Marcos, in his second year of presidency, delivered his second SONA on July 2023, outlining his achievements, policy directions, and legislative agenda under his administration. It was a report of progress as well as a plan for the future. Okay, now that we've set the context, let's dive into the details. Beginning with an overview of President Marcos' State of the Nation address, or SONA, key points were discerned from the news reports and the speech itself. Marcos centered his discourse on his administration's pursuit of liberal reforms to address the economic situation and alleviate the Philippines' international standing. He proposed a vision of a new Philippines underpinned by liberal, inclusive economic policy, insisting that foreign investments and enhancement of the domestic business scene are vital to national prosperity. Education was another significant focus. Described by Marcos as a linchpin of national development, he pledged to prioritize comprehensive education reforms, widely regarded as crucial for the country's future. Marcos further highlighted the need for an active stand against corruption and steps towards revitalizing the economy. He presented plans for tax reforms intended to catalyze economic recovery, a bold move considering the nation's economic circumstances. Shifting focus to international relations, Marcos underscored the importance of maintaining balanced foreign relations while avoiding direct reference to the Philippines' policy towards superpowers. Detailing specific reforms, Marcos emphasized the necessity for economic liberalization. He proposed a revamp of restrictive economic provisions in the Constitution to attract more foreign investment. Marcos believed this would stimulate economic growth, generate jobs, and encourage healthy competition. A budget increase for the Department of Education was announced, alongside emphasis on education as a potent tool for worldwide change. The increase aims at enhancing digital literacy and ensuring quality education access nationwide, even in the most remote regions. Tax reform was another priority, with Marcos pledging to review and rationalize tax incentives. His plan aims to create a level playing field for businesses while ensuring a steady revenue inflow for the government. Environmental sustainability was also featured prominently. Marcos reiterated his commitment to sustainable development, promising to cut carbon emissions and promote renewable energy. Addressing the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, Marcos committed to strengthening the healthcare system, enhancing testing and contact tracing, and accelerating vaccination campaigns. His announcement of the debt forgiveness law created significant buzz. This legislation is set to benefit over 600,000 farmers, aiming to lessen their financial strain and boost agricultural productivity. On the issue of peace and order, Marcos called for a comprehensive approach that includes strengthening law enforcement, investing in community development, and addressing the root causes of crime and conflict. He expressed his commitment to ending the long-standing insurgencies and achieving lasting peace, especially in the southern region of Mindanao. Furthermore, Marcos emphasized the importance of improving diplomatic relations with neighboring countries and the rest of the world. In a globalized world, he argued, maintaining strong international relationships is crucial for economic growth, regional stability, and effective crisis response. In a notable break from tradition, Marcos also dedicated a portion of his speech to the country's creative industry. He announced plans to foster the growth of the arts, culture, and creative sectors, recognizing their potential to contribute to the economy and the national identity. Lastly, Marcos committed to eradicating corruption at all government levels, aiming to establish an efficient, transparent, and accountable administration. Having highlighted the key points from Marcos's SONA, it's now time to dive deeper and analyze some of these elements. First, the focus on liberal economic reforms shows Marcos's acknowledgement of the global economic landscape and the need for the Philippines to stay competitive. However, critics argue that liberalization alone is not enough. There are persistent structural issues in the Philippine economy, such as inequality, low wages, and job insecurity, which must also be addressed. The tax reform proposed by Marcos is undoubtedly ambitious and could potentially boost the economy if implemented correctly. However, critics caution that it should be balanced with efforts to improve public services and ensure that it doesn't disproportionately burden the lower-income groups. In terms of education, while reforms are welcome, analysts stress the need for concrete steps, not just pledges. Improving education is a long-term task that involves not just policy changes, but also significant investments. Turning to foreign policy, Marcos's decision to avoid specifics on the Philippines' stance towards superpowers was also noted by analysts. The omission has been interpreted by some as a strategy to balance the country's relations with major powers, while maintaining a level of autonomy in international affairs. Now, let's look at the reactions that followed the SONA. As expected, the speech drew varied responses from different quarters. Some lawmakers and business groups expressed support for the reforms and policies outlined in Marcos's address. They welcomed the attention to economic recovery, education, and anti-corruption efforts. However, opposition leaders and critics were quick to point out what they saw as shortcomings in the speech. Critics pointed out that the SONA did not mention key issues, such as the controversial customs issue or clear strategies to tackle poverty, inequality, and unemployment. Some have also criticized the lack of concrete plans behind the ambitious proposals, while others questioned the feasibility of his reform programs. The public reactions have also been mixed. While some Filipinos appreciate Marcos's forward-looking vision and ambitious reform plans, others expressed skepticism, citing concerns about implementation and the potential for these initiatives to fall short of their goals. Moving forward, it's crucial to remember that while the SONA is an important platform for articulating policy goals, the real test lies in the implementation of these plans. The ambitious reforms proposed by Marcos will require strategic planning, sufficient resources, and persistent efforts to realize. A potential pitfall lies in the approach to these reforms. The government must ensure that the reform process is inclusive, transparent, and accountable. Moreover, the social and economic implications of these reforms must be thoroughly examined. For instance, while tax reforms may spur economic growth, it could also inadvertently widen the wealth gap if not implemented thoughtfully. Another crucial aspect is public participation. The government will need to engage in dialogue with the public, various sectors, and stakeholders to ensure the reforms truly respond to the needs and aspirations of the Philippine people. It is through active involvement and participation of the people that these reforms can gain wider acceptance and have a greater impact. In addition to addressing potential pitfalls, it is crucial to examine the potential economic contributions tied to these factors. Marcos's proposal to relax economic restrictions to attract more foreign investment could potentially lead to an influx of capital into the country. If executed properly, this could drive economic growth, create jobs, and stimulate domestic industries. However, it also opens up the risk of foreign entities exerting significant influence over the Philippine economy, which could have various implications for economic sovereignty and local businesses. Rationalization of the tax system might incentivize business activity and increase government revenue if implemented correctly, yet it's essential to carefully consider potential impacts on different income groups to ensure these changes don't disproportionately burden the economically vulnerable. The proposed debt forgiveness law for farmers could potentially stimulate the agricultural sector by relieving some of the financial burdens faced by farmers. This could increase productivity and ensure food security, but it would be crucial to ensure that this relief is coupled with initiatives for sustainable farming practices and market access. Strengthening the healthcare system, particularly in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic, could have important economic benefits. A robust health system can not only better manage public health crises, minimizing their economic impact, but also contribute to a productive workforce in the long term. And finally, the proposed budget increase for the Department of Education is a long-term investment in human capital. If these funds are used effectively, they could boost the quality of education, thereby enhancing workforce skills and potentially attracting higher-value industries. This, in turn, could lead to improved productivity, higher wages, and better living standards over time. In conclusion, Marcos's second SONA presented an ambitious vision for the Philippines, marked by economic liberalization, tax reforms, and emphasis on education. The reception has been mixed, with support from some quarters and criticism from others. As we move forward, the real challenge lies in effectively implementing these reforms in a manner that is inclusive and beneficial to all Filipinos.